Movie-going audiences are still reeling after the cinematic experience that was Avengers Endgame. Quickly soaring to the top of the highest-grossing movies of all time list, Endgame really shook up the MCU and its characters. This leads many to ask the question, what's next for the Marvel Cinematic Universe? While we don't have many answers to that question yet, we do know that there will be a third Guardians of the Galaxy film with James Gunn returning as the director. We also know that Tom Hiddleston's Loki will get his own television show on the Disney Plus subscription service. Lots of people are theorizing, though, that Loki will appear in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as an antagonist. This video is going to dive into that theory and argue that the MCU's first major villain will have a return to form in the coming Guardians movie. Loki has been in a weird place in the MCU for a while. Originally the franchise's strongest antagonist and villain of the first Avengers movie, he's since become more of a self-motivated anti-hero. Cunning and manipulative, the God of Mischief took the throne of Asgard from his brother, Chris Hemsworth's Thor, in the first appearance in the franchise. When his plot failed, he allied himself with Thanos to take control of the Earth, which ended in his imprisonment in the Asgard dungeons. However, Thor sets him free in the events of Thor: The Dark World so that Loki can help the God of Thunder defeat the invading army of Dark Elves.
This is so unlike you, brother. So clandestine.
Over the course of the film, Loki fakes his own demise, transforms into Anthony Hopkins' Odin, and takes the throne of Asgard without anyone realizing it. This deception is revealed to the people of Asgard in Thor Ragnarok, though, as the two brothers witness the real Odin's passing. This releases Hela, their older sister and the goddess of death, who attacks Asgard, crushes Thor's hammer, banishes the God of Thunder, and takes the throne for herself. Eventually, Loki meets back up with Thor and the two join forces with Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie and Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner. Forming their own army, the group attacks Hela. Realizing that they can't defeat her and that the well-being of Asgard's people is more important than the actual kingdom, Loki triggers Ragnarok. This summons the fire demon Surtur, who goes on to destroy the nation of Asgard and presumably defeats Hela. This victory is pretty short-lived though, as Thanos and his Black Order show up immediately following Hela's defeat and decimates half of the surviving Asgardians. The Mad Titan then takes the Space Stone from Loki before snapping his neck. However, the God of Mischief is really good at pretending to perish, and many fans speculate that this is another one of his fake-outs.
No resurrections this time.
Although his absence from the final battle against Thanos in Endgame seems to imply that he's gone for good, it would be in character for this very self-interested anti-hero to skip out on such a dangerous conflict. Further complicating things are the actions of 2012 Loki. During the course of Avengers Endgame, Iron Man, Captain America, and Ant-Man travel back to the Battle of New York so that they can nab 3 of the Infinity Stones. However, their plan goes awry, and Loki teleports away with the Tesseract or the Space Stone. It's clear that the Trickster God is in kind of a weird place right now. Him perishing to further build up the threat of Thanos made the Mad Titan even more intimidating, but many thought that Loki deserved more of a send-off than that. We know for sure that the character will be coming back in one way or another for the TV series, but the mechanics of how that happens are still pretty vague. Considering that Thor is now bumming around in space with the Guardians of the Galaxy, it would make sense for his adoptive brother to appear in the film as well. Considering the state of the Guardians of the Galaxy series and what's going on with the characters, it's likely that Loki will once again play a more antagonistic role. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 seems like it'll address a few key plot lines introduced in previous MCU films. In Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, the Guardians defeat the Tyrant Celestial Ego as well as legions of Sovereign spaceships. The Sovereign are a race of technologically advanced aliens that genetically engineer their offspring to be ideal for the assigned role in their society. If their gold skin, hair, and, well, pretty much anything else didn't give it away, they're also pretty aristocratic and think of themselves as better than all other species.
Every citizen is born exactly as designed by the community.
Their loss to the Guardians devastates their High Priestess Aisha, who reveals her plan for revenge in a mid-credits scene. Here, a disheveled Aisha stares at an advanced birthing pod and talks about how she's creating the next step in their evolution before deciding to name her creation Adam. Director James Gunn has confirmed that this is in fact the setup for the introduction of the character Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The Guardians will almost certainly battle the Ultimate Life Form. However, they'll probably convince the Advanced Sovereign to join them, as he's a hero in the Marvel Comics. Avengers Endgame also hinted that a good chunk of Guardians 3 will go to tracking down 2014 Gamora. Thanos' adopted daughter traveled to the present with the rest of his army. However, she bailed shortly after the battle, with her current whereabouts being unknown. Chris Pratt's Peter Quill will likely try to track her down in Guardians 3 as he was in love with the Gamora from his timeline. Seeing him struggle with being in love with a version of Gamora that doesn't even know him is sure to be the emotional center of the film. Of course, Thor will also be along for this ride as he passed off his position of ruler of Asgard to Valkyrie and is pretty set on finding himself. Why would Loki, the god of mischief, ever team up or even appear alongside Adam Warlock, you may be asking? Well, that's because they seem like they would have a great deal in common. Adam Warlock is depicted as the perfect life form in his comic appearances. While this isn't usually a major component of his storylines, that status is likely to play a bigger role in his MCU appearance, as he is now a creation of the authoritarian sovereign people. Considering how much of an emphasis the Guardians movies put on family and sorting through familial issues, it wouldn't be surprising if Adam's sole motivation in the movie came from Aisha's expectations of him. It would fit the themes of the Guardians movies perfectly if Adam was acting as a villain simply because that's the expectation put on him by his family. The Guardians would then have to explain to him that he doesn't have to live up to a vague standard of being an ultimate life form and can instead be whoever he wants to be and do whatever makes him happy. Similarly, Loki's motivations in the MCU have always centered on his expectations for himself as well as his insecurities. Loki spent most of his young life living in Thor's shadow, even though he felt like he'd make a better ruler of Asgard. However, when he learned that he was secretly a frost giant raised by Odin, those hopes were shattered. From then on, Loki spent the rest of his time in the MCU in pursuit of enough power to become a ruler. He believes it is his right and destiny to lead his own nation and is willing to do just about anything to reach his goal. He has incredibly high expectations for himself and feels like falling short of those expectations means that he is really an imposter prince who should be grateful just to be alive. Loki struggles a lot with his own identity, and it seems like Adam Warlock will be a similar character. After more than a decade of Marvel heroes defeating their foes in battle or just some magical or cosmic means, it'd be pretty great if our heroes just talked things out in the next Guardians film. With how much the past Guardians films focused on the emotional growth of the characters, it'd be appropriate if they just explained to Adam and Loki that they don't have to be villains if they don't want to be. Loki is one of the most sympathetic villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it'd be great if he could just get past his delusions of grandeur and just be happy to have such a supportive family and such great potential friends. Of course, Loki returning in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 would help Thor's character development as well. The God of Thunder is in a pretty rough place right now. Thor's still in a pretty harmful depression following the snap. Even if the Avengers did reverse it in Endgame, he's still confronting his own weakness and failure. He's also not really sure who he is or what he wants to do with his life now that he's decided he doesn't want to be the ruler of Asgard. Loki appearing in the next film and speaking with his brother could really help Thor figure himself out. After all, the two usually gain a better perspective of who they are by interacting with each other. Thor discovered his heroic values in his first movie when he pushed back against Loki's plan to eradicate the entire frost giant race. Similarly, Loki was forced to admit to himself that he did love his home and the people he grew up with when he fought to free Asgard from Hela in Thor Ragnarok.
Your savior is here!
While they're often enemies, the two ground one another and help each other become a better and more complete person. Even if they usually have conflicting goals, the brothers see the best in each other. Running his problems past Loki might be exactly what the God of Thunder needs to get out of his extended funk and get his life together. Not only are there plenty of ways for Loki to appear in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, his presence would fit in perfectly with the themes of the upcoming film.
I'm not even here.
Loki was the first really good villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He added a level of moral depth and complexity to the franchise that we really wouldn't see again until movies like Captain America: Civil War and Black Panther.
You know, maybe you're not so bad after all, brother.
Maybe not.
Loki really needs one more movie to sort out his issues before getting his own series, and Marvel fans need to see the character in one more film before he transitions into a more limited streaming series. Thankfully, Guardians of the Galaxy offers a terrific opportunity to fulfill both of those desires, meaning the God of Mischief is sure to appear in the film. What do you think is in store of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? Are you less confident about Loki's return, or will it play out in another way? Please let us know what you think in the comments section down below, and we'll be sure to take a look. While you're there, make sure you click on the like button and subscribe to Behind the Screen. Doing so really helps out the channel and allows us to make even more amazing videos for you to enjoy. There are loads of great Marvel Theory videos already up on the channel, and you're welcome to check them out at any time. To make sure that you catch them all, be sure to click on the bell icon. That way you'll get a notification as soon as they're published, and you can watch them before anyone else has the chance to.